Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Mobile Podcast. My name is Dave Mill. You can find me at on YouTube, Instagram, and everywhere at Railway to Success. What's going on? We got my guy Alex again. Alex, what's going on? Where can
Yes,
they find
sir.
you at?
Appreciate it. You guys can follow me on Instagram at underscore AJ the one. The YouTube channel is loading, so we are going to get that rolling with the help of my man Dave Mill, and let's get it.
Yes, sir. We're gonna get that. We're gonna get that YouTube uh, up and running, and we're gonna make some magic, man. We're gonna build a business.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough. And you were telling me earlier that it's like, yo, you gotta get the YouTube going, but you also gotta do the long editing for the videos. You gotta do this and do that. And I was like, man, maybe. And then I started seeing the work, and I'm just like, dog, this is a lot of work.
You know what? I just I'm feeling that way as well on my end on my channel, but I follow this guy on YouTube, Ali Abdul. I suggest you give him a follow and just check out some of his work. But you're saying like if you're gonna take YouTube serious, you
Right.
gotta treat it as a business.
Yeah.
You know, and it is that it's a business. So
It is a 9 to 5 grind.
exactly.
Yeah.
So you're gonna start out as a solo creator, but we're gonna build a team. And we're already starting to build a little team.
Right.
But we're gonna grow. Like my goal is to have this. This is gonna be a 6. Then we're gonna turn this into a 7. Then we're gonna turn this into an 8-figure business.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So that is the goal, and this is on camera. This is being recorded, so you're gonna hold us to it. All right. So Alex, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. Just honestly, just trying to make sure that adjusting to everything that's been going on, trying to make sure that I stay committed. Recently came across Alex Hormozy's book, $100 Million Leads.
Okay.
And so with that, I'm just realizing, like, look, I got to go ahead and commit to the next 100 days of just, like, being consistent with the grind, the recording content, putting content out there, making sure that, people understand exactly what it is that I'm doing with myself, my brand, what I got going on and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to make sure that I stay committed to, again, adjusting to this world that we now live in. In this world we live in now, especially after COVID, a lot of it was just like shifting over to, social media, gurus, podcasts, things like that. So it's like that's kind of what we're diving into.
Okay. That reminds me of something. Another book you put me on to is the Rich Dad Cash Flow Quadrant book.
Yeah.
Where he says we're no longer in the industrial age. We're now in the information age.
Right.
And if you think about it, Google, which is and YouTube, which is Google,
Right.
it's the go-to for information. If you think about it. So, if I, me, I say that if you're an entrepreneur, you have to have a social media presence,
Right.
to build your brand. Because if you don't have that, you're gonna be obsolete.
Yeah. And that was the big thing, is that a lot of times I really did not want to adjust to that. Like I would try, dip my toe into the water and kind of just like, all right, cool. Let me go ahead and, do a couple of reels here, a couple of videos there. I had one go viral when I got my R8. And, but outside of that, it's just like, yo, you really got to commit to this stuff like every day for a month, 2 months, 3 months, however long that you may need to, because at the end of the day, it's like you're only going to get so big and have so much going for you, right? Because again, when you have like these like you're trying to grow your brand and stuff like that, in just the day and age that we live in, most people just know social media. That's what their go-to is. They're not going to go to you based on word of mouth. Like you might get a couple of people here and there, but if you're really trying to scale this thing, you got to go to social media.
Right. I mean, if you think about it, what is the majority of people's time? What's devices is it spent on? It's spent on their phone.
On their phone.
Right. And if you think about it, the biggest thing that we use on our phone is social media.
Exactly.
Whether it's be Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube.
Right.
So if like I said, if you're gonna build a sustaining business, you have to have that presence.
Yeah, and it's tough. It's tough. Like you want to do things organically, you want to do things just word of mouth, but at the end of the day, to scale things to where you want to be at, and like I said, I was reading his book, and he's just like, when it's just you have just enough effort to pay the bills, right? Most times, and even then, it still may not be enough. So then you got to go out and hire some more people, hire, people to go get more people. And then you just kind of go about it that way. But again, it is tough, like trying to scale your stuff. And as I'm seeing, you're seeing that, hey, we can't do it on our own. We got to adjust and adapt to, the world we living in.
Right, exactly. Well, you have some experience in scaling a business so far. So let me ask you this. We touched on it before, but how has your business grown or changed since you started to add like team members to, for example, your rental car business?
Yeah. The biggest thing right now is more about like managing people, right? And because when it's just you, it's like, all right, you just manage yourself, your time, your efforts, your money, whatever you got going on and stuff. But then when you start bringing on other team members, now it's like, if you identify as the leader in the group, now you got to manage yourself, your emotions. You already manage everything that you're already doing before, but now you got to manage other people and how they collab. What's their personality types? Are they going to mesh well together? Are they going to have different ideas that also mesh well together, or are they going to clash? So as far as like how my business has grown or my experience with, scaling, that's the biggest piece right now, because once you start having all these different ideas and things that may work, now it's like, all right, well, whose idea will work? Because you're all trying to go into a different direction, but how do you unify as a front and as a team to kind of get to that goal?
Okay. Let me ask you this, then, since you did bring up something unique. How do you what's your process or system, as we should say, in terms of hiring people? Like, how do you know who's a good fit culturally and with other team members?
That part I'm still learning. Honestly, I'm not perfect at it, and I'm not going to say that I am perfect at it. But at the same time, I am learning. And the very first thing I do is have people take personality tests to see exactly who they are. Do they mesh well? There was another thing that was really interesting. It's on TikTok where there's a guy, ex-CIA agent. He's just basically like, there's different types of phenotypes or animal types that people align with, and that's their personality type. And so based on that, you kind of see, okay, well, these kind of people align well with other people. So you're kind of looking for that kind of thing. And then, outside of that, kind of do a test run. 2-3 weeks, see if that person meshes well with that other person or your team, and go from there.
Okay. All right, so we're talking about scaling.
Mm-hmm.
And so in order to scale, you have to have systems in place.
Right.
And you need your systems in place because instead of having to train each member individually, you have something already in place for training purposes, right? So how did you go about creating your system?
I'm glad you asked that, because I'm actually reading that in the book, the $100 Million Leads, where he's actually going into that about how to train people. And so I thought that I was doing things the right way by training, creating working procedures, using a book called Traction by Gino Wickman, and kind of going about it that way. But then I started realizing, like, oh, wait a minute, this is all the way wrong in our approach and how we're going about certain things. So now when it comes to training, it's like, it has to be so simple. I don't know if you've heard of the KISS method. You heard of that?
I have.
So keep it simple, stupid. If you haven't heard of it, you just keep it really simple. And one question that was kind of asked, and I really liked it and appreciated, was, if you vanish today, would a stranger be able to come in and do just as good of a job as you are?
Okay.
Right? Because oftentimes we think that we're giving good advice or saying, hey, do this and do that, and we think that it's actually something that's going to work, and somebody else can do it. And then when they don't do it and they don't succeed, it's like, why aren't you getting the same results I'm doing? If I can do it and all these other things, right? And this is where the ego comes into place, and this is where I'm battling myself. If I can do it, why can't you do it?
Right.
But oftentimes it's a matter about how simple did we keep our directions, using a checklist and things like that, for someone to easily follow.
Okay. Okay, so let's touch on the checklist.
Yeah.
Okay.
We was talking about that.
Yeah, exactly. So, how should one develop their checklist, and what's the importance of having a checklist?
To develop a checklist, it was more about just like really just seeing yourself doing that thing, right? So you have two options. You can either just kind of record yourself, or you can just kind of like visually walk yourself through it, right? And as you're doing it, say, all right, well, I got to make sure I have this thing, or I got to do this thing, and then kind of just write those things down. If you're recording yourself, then you're not really interrupting your flow to kind of stop and then write it down.
Right.
You can kind of just go through it straight through, record it, do what you got to do, and then take notes on the back end, and then say, hey, okay, these are the things that I need to add into my checklist.
Okay. So when you say recording, so what do you mean by recording? Like, are you recording like training instructions, or what exactly are we recording?
Yeah, so a couple different ways. So let's say if I'm doing my checklist for the car rental business, I may have somebody come and record me cleaning a car, what I'm looking for, and as I'm doing it, I'm kind of checking through the things or talking through the points that I need to do. If we were talking about the whole camera setup and things, right? You may have somebody that just kind of like comes in and records you like getting your process ready, or you can go ahead and just document when you're on a job or wherever you're at. You can just say, all right, cool, these are all the things that I needed for this one job. Here's my checklist, right? And then when you go to another job and you realize, oh, wait a minute, I need this other thing, you can either add that to the checklist or just put in parentheses, optional kind of thing. So now it's like you're still thinking about it, and you can verbally ask yourself, do I need this for this task at hand?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. So let's go into, when is it time to hire? Like, when is it time to hire your first team member? And by which member is the most important in your opinion to hire first?
That's a tough question right there. I think the most important person is, in my opinion, going to be the leader.
Okay.
Because if you don't have a strong enough leader or the CEO or the shot caller, then at the end of the day, that person is not going to be able to guide you. And it was like an analogy where it's like, imagine you dropped off in the forest and you kind of just like trying to figure your way out. Everybody's a worker, everybody's equal, everybody's doing the same thing. So everybody starts chopping away, trying to figure out what's the best way to go. And eventually you just chop for days, and somehow you come back in a circle and come back to where you started. But it's going to take somebody to then go up to the highest point of the tree and say, look, this is the direction we need to go in, right?
Okay.
This is where we need to go. This is what we need to do. These are objectives. And then the second most important person is the person who I guess what would report to them, and kind of keep tabs on things, like the CFO or the whoever the next
like
bottom
VP or
yeah, whoever the next person down is there, because it's basically a trickle down effect. But I think it's also the most important for the CEO to treat the people at the bottom with like utmost respect,
right?
Because without them, his whole process fails.
Exactly.
So as far as like hiring your first person, I think your question was, when do you know when to hire the first person?
Yes.
I think, in my opinion, when you get to that point where you start realizing that your time is better spent elsewhere than always hustling and trying to do everything yourself, right?
Right.
When you're trying to do the editing, when you're trying to do, like in the podcast space,
Exactly.
when you're trying to do the editing, carrying the equipment, recording, being the director, the producer, the everything, at some point you're going to realize that, hey, I can only do so much. And in order for me to scale and break through that next glass ceiling, I have to have somebody outside of me that I can train 1 or 2, 3 times for them to do something repetitively. So now I can focus on the bigger picture.
Right. You know what? That makes sense. This actually reminds me of someone that may be familiar with. So, you know, that story kind of hits. I'm gonna have to have a talk with this person. You know, we gotta figure some things out.
I mean, again, it's a lot of it is the ego, because most people, most entrepreneurs, when they start, they're starting as, hey, this is my baby. This is the thing I'm going to grow, I'm going to nurture, I'm going to cater to, I'm going to make sure that it's successful, and I'm going to put my blood, sweat, and tears into it to make, and if nobody else is going to do it, F it, I'm going to do it myself, right? And so we start ego tripping because we're like, you become attached to that business. That business is you. You are that business, right? Without it, you are maybe nothing, but without you, that business is nothing,
Okay.
right?
Right.
And a lot of times it's very difficult to disassociate with that in the degree that it's like, all right, I'm the CEO. I need to work on the business and not in the business.
Okay.
So now it's like, who else can then take over the reins? And a lot of times it's difficult as entrepreneurs to be able to take over, let somebody else take over the reins.
So, let me ask you this: do you find it does it get easier as you build a successful business, or does it not change at all, no matter how many times you've launched and grown like a successful business?
I don't think it gets easier per se because every business has its issues, right? And so when you realize that every business has its issues, no matter how big or small, right, it's still relative. Like a Fortune 500 company may have big issues, right? But it's like, well, if they're a Fortune 500, they've gone through the IPO process, they've gone through the startup phase, they've gone through the fundraising phase, they've gone through a lot of these different phases, grassroots phase, and all this other stuff. So it should be easier, right? But it's like, it's still relative to where they're at, that they're still going to have problems. I think you just get better at adapting to creating systems, to being able to then tweak those systems and to kind of pinpoint exactly where your strong suits are versus your weak points, and then automating and delegating.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Okay. Let's dive deeper into systems, because you said it a few times already in this episode. So for someone who's never made a system, right? Where do you start? Like, what is a system, and where do you start in terms of creating your system? And how does a system help you grow?
Got you. So 2 books that I highly recommend when it comes to creating system. One is Work the System by Sam Carpenter.
Okay.
And the next one is Build to Sell. I can't remember the author's name, but Build to Sell. And so those 2 books are pretty much going to talk about the systems needed in place and how to go about them, right? Work the System is one of my all-time favorites. Again, it's giving you the ideas, but then the guidelines to be able to figure out how to build a system that works for you. Now, I think that for me, I'm always going to say the first step is education. Get educated in whatever space that you're about to do, and whatever it is that you're about to do, just go ahead and get educated in that thing before you take a deep dive. But also understand that you don't need 100% of the information to get started. You need maybe 75 to 85%, because you stressing over that last 15% to get that last, well, I need to know, is going to cause you more stress and headache and brain power to just get that extra 15%, rather than just saying, hey, I have enough information. I got the majority of information to take a good decision, and I'll learn the rest along the way, because you'll never learn all of it. You're always going to be constantly learning something new, something different, and kind of going from there.
Okay. All right, Alex. So we've known about, we talk about the systems and how to, when is the time to create systems and how to create them. Do you have like any examples of like systems you put in place, or systems that you know of? Like what are some systems that is automatic? Like, do you have any examples?
Yeah, for sure. Like, especially in the car rental business, where a lot of stuff is very routine, right? And when you just look at life, a lot of things in your life may be routine. So for me, I know that each time we get a booking, we need to collect certain information, right? So rather than us constantly asking somebody, hey, what's your name? What's your email? What's your phone number? What kind of car are you looking for? What are you trying to rent out? All these like things that we're consistently asking over and over and over again, I just put it into one form. So when someone fills out that form, I have all the information that I need. So now I can go ahead and basically have a setup for AI or for a sequence to basically say, hey, when someone submits this form, here's the next step that should happen, right? And I think that a lot of people should go ahead and just do a 1, 2, 3, 4 format. When 1 happens, 2 happens. When 2 happens, 3 happens. When 3 happens, and so on and so forth.
Okay. Mm. You just said something.
Mm-hmm.
AI, which is clutch. Okay. So how can AI help you with your systems?
Oh man, I use AI all the time.
And let me ask you this on top of this.
Mm-hmm.
Can AI take the place of systems?
It can, but you would have to put in a good amount of work to get that done. Something like that would be like an agent GPT or auto GPT, where it can basically do the work on itself. It takes a lot more to get that thing going than just like, oh yeah, here's what I want you to do, go ahead and do it kind of thing. Now, it's advertised to do that. I haven't seen it do that, but as far as answering your question, like how do you use AI to create your systems and stuff like that, right? That was your question?
Right.
Talk to it, right? Basically, go on ChatGPT, learn what prompt engineering is. Like that's a real thing. Is prompt engineering? Is how do you speak to this? Like there's courses on like Coursera and Harvard has their own like online courses of how to basically talk to ChatGPT. But then basically say, hey, I'm building out a system to kind of weed out the repetitive tasks in this industry, right? I want you to help me design a roadmap, a system that I can put in place to then go ahead and automate and delegate majority of my tasks so that I can focus on the bigger picture. And then just see what it pops out, right? At that point, you just start taking what you like and say, hey, okay, I can use this, I can use that, I can use this, I don't need that, right? And then use that into your system and then run it again and say, hey, these are the things I have for my system. What else could I then use? And then see what it pops out then. And just keep going until you get to a point where it gets, the list is so long that you're just like, all right, well, help me now dumb this down. How do I get this to a 1, 2, 3, 4 format?
Okay. Okay, I can add a little bit here. In terms of like how I use AI for YouTube. Growing a YouTube channel, like I don't have the luxury of being able to hire writers and editors and things like that, right? So basically, you can use AI to write your YouTube script, right? And so now, as you said, you have to learn how to talk to this program, because you can say one thing, it will give you like a vague response of exactly what you're looking for. So then you have to be more detailed. Like, hey, for example, ChatGPT, write me a script, YouTube script for how to stay sane while building a startup, and they'll give me something, right? But you'll have to talk to ChatGPT and say, hey, add this segment about the importance of having systems. So you're basically just telling it, exactly what you need. It's basically like having a full-time assistant.
That doesn't get tired.
Exactly, right? And you don't have to pay, right? And it'll make the edits to the script exactly to, the way that you're looking to make it to write.
Yeah, and to add on to that, one thing you can do to make that better is basically saying, hey, act as whatever that you wanted to do. So act as a screenwriter, act as a social media manager, act as something, right? Because now you're setting the groundwork to say, hey, this is what I want you to focus on. So yeah, that's just one of the things that you can do, like with prompt engineering, to get the best response.
That's a bar right there.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. You a rapper or something?
Nah.
That was a bar right there. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, we're trying to get things going. So what else have you used, like AI? Like how have you adapted? Because the world's changing.
Okay.
Like the world's really changing now that we're post-COVID. With COVID, it was just a lot of things were inside. But now we're switching to a more online, digital, AI-powered world. So what else are you doing?
So basically, I'm using AI as to be basically like an assistant to any of my creations. So I have a website, roadwaytosuccess.com, where I write blog posts.
Oh, work?
Yeah, ChatGPT write the blog post, but
Right.
you know, I edit and mix and match, and I add things on my own as well, just to make sure it does comes off as if someone is writing these blogs.
Right.
In terms of video, like I use AI to chop up my long form videos into reels, TikToks, and things like that.
Right.
So AI is definitely clutch, especially in the content creation space.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, in the entrepreneur space, period. You know, I would say in the future, like if you're not using AI, you're gonna become obsolete. Right?
Now, I did have another question. So, with AI, it kind of turns into like everything is not possible, right? Because if you look at it, you can translate physics and astrophysics to a 5-year-old to the point where it makes sense. So now it's like, all right, well, I have the access to do anything and everything.
Right.
How do you stay focused on, you know, one particular thing with this whole new sea of everything now available to you?
Oh man, it's tough because I have me personally just being as vulnerable as possible. Like I have trouble staying focused on one thing at a time, and so it's tough. But it's just that, you know, I try to look at it as, hey, I have something to do, and if I don't do it right, it won't get done. You know, and so using AI as this tool, like it dramatically cuts down the process of me. Like for the whole video creation process could be anywhere from 24 to 48 hours. Like if you had to write down the script, record the content, you know, you gotta create a hook for your YouTube video. You gotta create a thumbnail for it. You know, like,
Right.
Like if you like, and for if you don't know what a thumbnail is, it's the picture you see on a YouTube video before you click on it. You got to come up with a title. Like all of these things can be done by AI. Now you can't leave it all to AI. Like you do have to have some type of creative input into it. But yeah, man, it's just trying to stay focused and knowing that, hey, I need to get these things done. But luckily for me and luckily for us, that, you know, we have this tool that we can use to dramatically cut down the process to grow at a more rapidly than
Is
before.
ChatGPT the only tool you've been using, or is that your favorite?
Well, that is my favorite, and it's the one I know the best.
Okay.
Let's put it that way.
Gotcha.
I'm not as opposed to if there's a better AI out there. I'm not married to ChatGPT. But in terms of like the videos, so I'm using vidIQ, which is a website, but it comes up with YouTube titles for you. It gives you daily ideas on what kind of content you can make. Basically, like it studies your channel. It uses AI to study your channel and say, I recommend that you make a video on this subject.
Yeah, I need to jump on that actually.
So what else can it do? It can create your YouTube description. You know, when you upload a video on YouTube, YouTube advises you to put 1,000 character summary of your video.
Right.
And vidIQ can do that for you. It's a lot of things. Video AI to chop down my long form videos into reels.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
The one that you put me onto, Opus Clips. I believe it's Opus Clips. Basically the same thing as video AI. So those are things that I use AI in my process. For like my photography business, I've used ChatGPT to basically create my website. You know, I use ChatGPT as, you know, to create my About Me page on my website.
Right.
Create a description of my services. You know, so I'm using AI in every form of my businesses.
What do you think about people who either still haven't heard about it or aren't willing to really adjust over into the AI industry?
My honest opinion, I don't believe there's anyone on earth who has yet to hear about AI. Like, it is such a phenomenon right now in every part of the world. Maybe in third world countries, where there's really not any use for it, or they can't use the tools that they have. They don't have the equipment to use the tools.
Right.
But if you're in any first world country, like you know AI and you should be using AI. What was the second part of the question? I'm sorry.
No, I was asking like for people who aren't willing to adapt over.
If you're not willing to adapt, good luck. That's the best I can say to you. You can ask any entrepreneur and any business, any CEO, and right now they're trying to use AI to cut costs.
Yeah.
And so a lot of jobs will be lost due to AI. They're coming up with ways to use AI for marketing, advertising. So, like, marketing companies may be obsolete because if I can have the AI come up with my whole marketing campaign,
right?
Do I need to pay someone 6 figures, 7 figures for me? So if you're not adopting, good luck. Like what's the saying? Either adapt or perish. And that's what it is.
Like that, yeah.
That's really what it is right now. You either adapt or perish, and that's going to be the wave.
No, I agree with you because at the end of the day, it's like it's becoming too efficient to the point where businesses are waking up and like, wait a minute, this bot doesn't need vacation time, it doesn't need sick time, it doesn't need leave time, it doesn't need lunch time, it doesn't need any of that, and it can also do the work of 10 of those people in
faster time,
right? So it is one of those things where it's like the market in itself has to adapt to what's going on.
Right.
And because now it's like you got things like Dolly 2, Mid Journey, where advertising is like getting a hold of that, and that's getting even better. I remember when it first came out, it had a thing with hands where it couldn't draw hands and fingers right. Mm-hmm. Now it's getting to that point where you have start combining that with like things like deepfake and a lot of other things.
I was getting ready to say like you have. It's going to be scary with AI is in the future. Like, you think catfishing is bad now.
Yeah.
Imagine when you realize you have a whole relationship with an AI, with a computer.
They have that now. You know
that? I've heard of it, but I can't think of the movie where, but like, it was some guy who fell in love with AI. I don't even know if he knew it was AI. But
was that a movie or was that Black Mirror?
Might have been Black Mirror.
Might have been.
And it trapped him in the
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it trapped him. So I can't think of it, but
it learned his habits basically to then figure out. Oh, okay. How do I invoke this emotion from you, and keep doing it that it keeps like triggering you to make you then want to do certain things, and then she got him.
Exactly. So what?
Yeah.
It's scary, man. Yeah, like if you really think about it.
But it's crazy because like when it comes to things like marketing, there are people with PhDs that study marketing, right? And like we were talking about, like the changes and adapting to the world outside, like post COVID, where we were so consumed in like buying products online. Now you're going to start having AI that has like out of this world commercials, out of this world marketing and advertising and stuff like that. That's really going to get you hooked because now it's studying the habits of millions of people faster than these people with PhDs may be able to do it.
Exactly.
It may not be as accurate over time, but it's still able to crank out enough to keep learning more and more from it each time.
So what I think about AI is it's really going to turn everything around. It's like it's already making college like obsolete. Like, right. Are you going to pay tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars on a degree, which may not even matter anymore in the future?
Right.
Like it's going to force colleges to adapt to pricing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's needed though.
It is needed.
It is needed.
It is needed, but it's a lot of reform needed in college.
Because we're moving to an age now where you need the certification more than you need the degree.
Exactly. And the certification is not even a quarter of the cost of college of one semester. Maybe.
Not even close.
Exactly. So
Most times it's just a couple $100.
exactly.
Like it's a quarter of a meal plan.
That's crazy. So are you gonna like say for a young male, especially for someone? I'm gonna use me for an example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Coming out of high school, I had no interest of ever going to college because
Word?
I've never stepped foot on a college campus. Besides for work, and I was younger. My brother took me to a college house party one time, but I was a senior in high school. By that time, when I went to that house party, I did want to go to college. But
Fair enough.
but like for someone like me, like who had no desire of going to college, like I now have a way to earn 6 figures to 7 figures without going to college debt.
Yep.
So and I can get my certification in half the time, of not even half the time of school of trying to get all my credits. I don't have to deal with the BS of dealing with college professors, homework,
quizzes.
Exactly, or not even that. Let's just talk like the social aspect of college. Like it's more geared towards like the women, in my opinion, like this the political issues, the social issues, like it's such a liberal place. I don't know how any, pardon me, but any straight male could thrive there, honestly, right?
I think, and I've been saying this for a while, is that I think that one of the biggest benefits of college is learning how to network amongst different groups of people.
So I think if you would ask me, that is the biggest pro for college. It's just the networking abilities, from just being on a campus with 5 to 15, 20, 30,000 people. And you're all there for similar,
Right.
goals,
Right.
Even go even deeper than that. Frat or sorority, like you have similar goals, and and that could open up networking opportunities. So, if I was to say college, that's probably the biggest pro, but
unless you're going for like something that requires a state licensure or,
yeah. But honestly, I was going to say though, I could network without going to college.
That's a big piece.
It's like, so we like something like we used to be a part of. I'm not going to shout out the name of it because we're not sponsored, but
right.
But that's a networking place. It's like a hub. You got things like WeWork, like creative hubs where you could network.
Not so much longer. They filed bankruptcy.
That's true. But you have different opportunities for networking now. So still, is college needed there? And that's just all that to say is AI is really giving you options, right? And so that's what I'm
because now I can, or anybody can basically come in and say, look, I can basically keep up with the knowledge that you know because I can translate the knowledge that you know. You may be able to draw conclusions faster than I can, but if we're doing something that's task-based and it's like, hey, you got until tomorrow or 2 days or 5 days from now,
we're on equal playing field.
We're on equal playing field because, like, I wouldn't say even equal playing field because that person may know hot words to basically type in there.
Okay.
So, but it's still like, if 50-50 is even playing field, I think that we're more at like 60-40.
Okay.
Right? And that's dangerously close when you think about it. Like, to be that close to somebody who had a 4-year degree, who, went through everything, compared to somebody who adjusting to life outside of COVID it is, and speaking to resiliency and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
people in this era are going to have to learn how to be a lot more resilient and adaptable moving forward because there's so much going on at one point in time. Like, gone are the days where it's like you just focus on one thing. That's gone. Like, we don't have that anymore because I think the study showed like we literally have the attention span of less than of a goldfish.
Yeah. I mean, we have all of these things that's drawing our attention. So
Right.
of course, like everybody's gonna have ADHD in the future, like because
I was talking to MJ about that.
really,
Yeah, because she was just like, I was like, yo, I don't know why, but I just can't focus on one thing. I try, and I literally have been trying for the past like 4 months to limit everything and just focus on one thing. But it's like, even still, it's like, nah, I can't because I got the car business, I got the Airbnb business, I got the exotic business, I got this going on, that going on, right?
mm-hmm.
And it still doesn't feel like enough. Now, granted, there are a handful of people who literally just focus on one thing, like that's their niche,
Right.
and they are successful in their own right. But for me, it's like I noticed that, and she's like, it might be genetic, right? But it might be environmentally induced because, again, we have so many distractions.
Exactly.
Like right now, we're able to focus. We got 4 TVs over there. We got 1 TV over there, another TV up there. We got lights going on. We got all this other stuff. We got phones, notifications, and all these other extra things. But our grandparents would be super overwhelmed right now.
Right.
They're just like, you got to turn that off. You got to dim these lights. You got to put the phone away.
Exactly.
We're moving into an age where it's like there's so much trying to gain your attention.
Mm-hmm.
And you have, again, people with PhDs trying to grab your attention. Now you got AI trying to grab your attention.
Exactly. I would say as to that as well. Like, I'm not mad at someone who's trying different things. For example, we have different podcasts and different things, programs where you see all like different entrepreneurs and what are they doing to make money, right?
Right.
And you get to a point where, hey, I think I could do that.
Shiny object
I
syndrome.
think I think I could do that. And so I'm not mad at someone who's trying, because even me, like I've tried different things. I've tried real estate. I'm still into real estate, but I tried car rental. It took me to take a dramatic loss, or a hell of a loss, to realize car rental maybe is not for me,
Right.
or it's just I didn't have all the systems in place. I didn't know all the information before I got into this thing, and maybe down the line I may try again, but I'm gonna take it baby steps,
Right.
and I'm gonna
Work
make
on your systems.
exactly, right. And so like right now, I'm trying with content. Like this is something though I really believe in content because like it takes a while to build trust.
Right.
But if you have that trust for people, people will support you no matter what. If they trust you, if they feel as though you're genuine.
They got to get that social proof.
Exactly. Shout out to Social Proof Podcast. How this? So like I'm not mad at that, but I do feel as though it is a time where, hey, try this and this and this, but pick something,
Right.
and to grow. It could be multiple things, but pick something that you feel, hey, you have a passion for, but you also have skills and knowledge in.
Yeah.
Because it makes no sense to pick something you have passion for, but if you have no skills or no knowledge in that what you're talking about, then people gonna be able to read through that. Which is one of the reasons why I'm thinking about changing my personal page, because right now I've been talking a lot about startups right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is cool, and I have a couple of business in that startup phase, but this is not my passion. So my passion is more towards like the side hustles right now,
Right.
So like earlier today, I went to go shoot some photographs for someone. I don't know if I would call that a startup. I just call it like a side hustle or a hobby that I can make.
Yep.
Yeah, I can make money from. And so, yeah. So I'm not mad at anyone that tries shit, basically.
Basically. Yeah.
So you have anything else you want to go on?
No, I think we hit a pretty good amount of topics on this episode. So again, it's like making sure that you are adapting to the world that we're in,
Mm-hmm.
using AI, being open to different opportunities, sharing those opportunities, getting out and networking along with other people, and just kind of like staying up to date is like, hey, these are the latest and greatest kind of things. How do you stay competitive in that world, while also limiting your distractions to make sure that you can focus on something and get good at that, good enough, long enough to then be able to move on to the next thing.
I agree. I agree. On all the things we touched on today, the most important thing is the systems, man. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you must have systems,
Right.
and you must use AI to either to make the systems more efficient. Efficient. Because
Efficient, faster. Yeah.
exactly. So, just the importance of systems, having systems in place. All right, so I think that is the end of our show today. Thank you for checking us out. Thank you for staying with us. Hope you got some value. Please check out our previous episodes and be on the lookout for our next episodes. You got any closing statements, Alex?
Hey, man. Stay tuned in with the Mobile Podcast. Let's get it.
Stay tuned in, baby. Peace.